I'm ready for a knockdown, drag out, like war, because that's what you have to be ready for.
Download the AllStar app. Make your picks for UFC fights, challenge your friends, level up and win prizes. Link in description. Get it now.
All right, Sullivan, March 31st, Bellator 293, you return. How have you utilized the time since your last fight in November?
I train constantly. After each fight, I take 1 week off and then get right back to work. Sometimes not even a week. So I've been hard at work, developing skills and developing my body. I put on muscle in between camps, work on a lot of skill stuff, and then during camp I lean out and really focus uh, on getting in shape more than anything. And I'm excited to show everybody this the newest iteration of my skill set. I'm a lot better than I think I ever have been before.
Oh, that's nice to hear. And, going back to building muscle, adding muscle, like how much muscle have you added in the last 2 years since you became a pro?
Since I became a pro, I would say I'm probably starting my like dehydration weight cut like 4 or 5 pounds bigger now than I was when I first started. I was probably a little undersized for the weight class at first. And I've just worked hard with my strength and conditioning guy, Jason Kamens, on just putting on muscle in places where it's going to matter. You know what I mean? Not like building chest and biceps and stuff. Just put muscle on my back and on my neck, and you know what I mean. Places where it helps you out for MMA.
So basically, you're not trying to look like Liver King.
I'm not. I would love to have a sweet six pack and like a big like muscular chest stuff. But at the end of the day, I want to win fights more than anything. So,
Did you ever believe that he was natural?
no. Anybody who's been around like fitness, you know what I mean, like sports, takes one look at a guy who looks like that and knows what's going on. You know what I mean? There are some guys where there's like gray area. You're like, maybe that guy's like, you look at a guy like Paulo Costa, and it's like a lot of things are telling you that guy might be on steroids, but maybe he's just got fantastic genetics and like eats a really good diet. You know what I mean? Like there are guys like that. When you see somebody who looks like Liver King, who's just like swollen and like, you know what I mean? That guy's 100% on steroids every time.
Yeah, man, that's an interesting case. And going back to you and you adding muscle, did you realize that like when you started to get around more light heavyweights that you were kind of smaller for the division?
Yeah, I mean, I've never really felt like I was at a strength disadvantage with many light heavyweights. When Bader moved up to heavyweight, I started to feel like, damn, that's a strong squeeze on that guy. You yeah, I mean, now that I have put on a little weight and a little bit of size, I can definitely feel it. I could definitely, I think my punching power has increased and just my strength and grappling has increased quite a bit. Really strong back, and like a lot of wrestlers do. You know what I mean? I could really hold somebody down.
Do you think like adding muscle in certain areas of your body like prevents injury as well?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, one of the things that's really helped me is strengthening the like smaller muscles in my rotator cuff in my shoulders. That's been very helpful. And I used to have back issues that I've kind of ameliorated just by strengthening my obliques and just kind of the surrounding abdominal muscles. And that's again, I have a great strength and conditioning coach, Jason Kamens. He works with Bader as well, and it's a weightlifting program that's very like physical therapy, like flexibility and injury prevention oriented. You know what I mean? Because like banging weights around is not really that helpful for MMA. You know what I mean? Squatting 600 pounds is not like going to help you that much. You know what I mean? So you got to you got to do strength and conditioning. It helps to be big and strong, but you got to find a way to do it that's going to minimize injury and really help you.
Yeah, sports science have has come a long way, especially for fighters. You know, I mean, you see certain guys that are just pulling out of fights left and right, just getting injured. You got to be thinking like they're doing something wrong with their training or their strength and conditioning or something. You know what I mean? Like, because you haven't pulled out any fights.
I haven't, and I've had some injuries. We've had, a couple fights ago, I had to get like a cortisone shot middle of the camp and stuff, and like, what each fight camp I get a little better at doing this, and I've gotten a lot better managing my body and focusing on recovering and on things like stretching, massage, ice bath, sauna, things that just kind of ease the load on your body and prevent injury. And I'm getting through these camps a lot healthier than I was initially.
Luke Trainer, what is your breakdown of him in the matchup?
Uh, could be a rough night for him next week. he he's a big, tall guy. I think that's kind of his best attribute is his height and reach. He's a decent striker. He looks like, he likes to use his jab, but I'm not overly impressed with him in any area, really. I think he's game, and I think he definitely looks the part. Um, he's not an incredibly high level striker. His defense isn't that great. Doesn't move his head that well. You know what I mean. His wrestling's nothing special. His jiu-jitsu's, he's got some jiu-jitsu. It's not black belt level jiu-jitsu. So he's a professional fighter. He's had success. I'm not gonna say it's gonna be an easy night, but I think I got something for him. You know.
Some tricks in the bag.
Yeah, not even tricks. I'm kind of a run the ball down your throat type of guy. I can strike and I can wrestle and I can keep a high pace with both, and I'm real aggressive. So I'm gonna come out and come right after him. I'm not reckless, but try to fight smart and tactically, but I'm coming to put it on him.
Your fights, they've all been first round finishes. So when you go in there, I'm pretty sure you have a game plan. But then, have you ever had to switch up the game plan in that first round?
Yeah, I mean, we don't. We have a game plan. We always game plan a little bit when I fight, but we're not married to our game plan. I think that's kind of a mistake guys make a lot of the time is they really analyze tape and they're like, when he does this, that means he's gonna do this, and when he does this, you got to do this, and then like you create this plan, you concoct this thing in your head, and like guys will even like sit there and visualize how the fight's gonna go, and then they'll get in there and like it just won't go down like that because fighting is always to some degree chaos. You know what I mean? You never really know how it's going to go down. Guys get in there and it starts not going down the way they hoped it would, and that they don't cope well with it. It puts them on their back foot. So what I think fighting is all about being confident in your skill set and just trusting that wherever it goes and whatever happens, you're going to be able to figure it out and win the fight. You know what I mean? So we have plans. We have things we think he's probably going to try to do. We have my offense that I know I like to run, and that's what we're going to run. And if that doesn't work, I'll adjust.
Who was the trickiest fighter so far you faced?
Dion Clash in Phoenix was uh he like really came out and just tried to wrestle hard. Really came after me and tried to put me on my back, and I really wasn't anticipating that because I am a good wrestler. And he really went for it, and that kind of surprised me. So that was one of those adjustments that you just talked about. So we didn't anticipate that. I had to kind of adjust on the fly, and I was able to get him out of there just at like the very end of the first round.
This camp, how are you splitting this training camp?
What do you mean?
Like, where are you splitting your time? Like, where are you working for this one? Is there anything new?
Basically, been the same program as the last few. I spend a lot of my time at Dan's gym, Danny Brandt's Muay Thai gym. Boxing and Muay Thai. That's where my striking game was developed. So I spend like half my time there, and then pretty much the other half at Ryan Bader's kind of like private gym doing wrestling and jiu-jitsu. And then we just go around town to different parts of Phoenix finding tough sparring, you know? So we do a lot of light sparring with guys in the gym, people that I know and like and trust. We light spar with them. And then we go find, you know, pro boxers, other MMA fighters from out of town for the hard sparring. And we put on headgear and all bets are off type of thing, you know?
So you go out and find guys that you could like practice what you've been training privately on those guys.
Yeah, yeah. So you do a lot of live sparring, and then you know the closest you're gonna get to a fight is going to a gym that you don't train at, sparring somebody you don't train with. You know, and it's like a little dress rehearsal for the fight. So we make sure to get a few of those each camp with some tough guys.
I'm pretty sure from time to time you get surprised by guys that you've probably never even heard of, and you go in there and spar them. You're like, "Whoa, this dude is pretty damn good." Have you ever had that in
Yeah,
the past?
that's the things that like just getting into the sport you don't realize is gonna happen. Like when you're especially when you're brand new, like you just know how to wrestle. You go like you learn there are a lot of guys, strikers, jiu-jitsu guys that you've never heard of that are incredibly good, you know? So that's like a learning curve type of thing.
For sure. You get into some sticky situations, but that's beneficial for you when you step out there and actually compete inside the cage.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, all my fights, my pro fights so far have been, you know, on the easier side, I would say, because I've been finishing fights in the first round. But, you know, that's why we sought out really tough amateur fights and we seek out tough sparring, you know?
Yeah, I noticed that, you do have a couple setbacks as an amateur, and it seems like those have benefited you tremendously in your pro career so far.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we would take any kind of amateur fight because when you wrestle in college, it's tough to get fights, and you know, you turn pro, all of a sudden your amateur record doesn't really matter. So we weren't trying to like guard my record. I had you know a bunch of Muay Thai fights, a bunch of boxing fights, and then we would take MMA fights on like 4 days notice just because like somebody got injured. We just hop in there, you know, and see what happened. So just I mean, yeah, the fighting is you know, training's great. Obviously, training is a big part of the puzzle, but fighting is where you really jump levels. So yeah, those tough amateur fights I had were huge, especially considering the fact that I've been, you know, I don't have a lot of cage time as a professional.
You mentioned Paulo Costa earlier. There's that clip that you posted with you training with him. What's the connection there?
He trains at Fight Ready sometimes. You know, when he's in the States, I guess, and Fight Ready is not too far from me. I don't train there all the time, but I come in sometimes and get some work with those guys. They're really good to me, and they have a solid group of guys in there. It's hard to find big guys sometimes, so you know, a guy like Paulo Costa was in town and looking for training, looking for sparring. He's about 220 something pounds, so he's a middleweight, but he's a giant middleweight, and he's kind of the perfect guy. You know, we have really tough sparring sessions like towards the beginning of my camp that were essentially like I was saying like a little fight, you know.
Yeah, it is kind of perfect for you to kind of go out there and test yourself against a guy like him. You know what I mean? He's like a
Mhm.
power striker, kind of has decent like takedown defense. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Just a all around good fighter.
yeah, he's a very tough guy.
You're tied, man, for the most knockouts in light heavyweight history already. And do you plan on breaking the record against Trainer? Is that the plan?
That's the plan. I mean, it wouldn't blow me away if this fight goes to a decision. You know what I mean? If I have a tough fight with Trainer, like I've been ready for that. On each one of my fights, if you look at my interviews, I always say the same thing. I'm like, man, I'm ready for a knockdown, drag out, like war, because that's what you have to be ready for. But like you know, I like finishing guys early is just kind of a byproduct of the way I like approach fights. You know what I mean? I'm just confident and aggressive and really like you know fast and powerful. So it just tends to happen. So I'm just gonna kind of go fight how I always fight, and you know if I clip Trainer early and put him down, that would be great.
You're in a unique position because you're ranked, but you're fighting a guy that's not ranked. And a lot of people probably would have thought like, "Oh man, he needs to fight somebody that's higher up." But you've mentioned in the past that you're like, "Hey, let's take the slow approach. Like I don't need to just jump up, you know, and fight. But do you see certain matchups in that top 5 where you're like, that's an interesting fight? I do, but I'm gonna let you say what you need to say.
I think the top of that Bellator light heavyweight division is so good that like those are all awesome matchups. A win against any of those guys, Yoel Romero, Phil Davis, Corey Anderson, Nemkov, like those guys are literally some of the best fighters in any promotion in the world. So winning against any of those guys would be kind of career defining in a way. But like you said, I'm at the bottom of the top 10 now, and I got to work my way up. I'm not just trying to jump right to the top because I got a little hype behind me. You know what I mean? My coaches are very old school. It's kind of a boxing style mentality about how to develop a fighter, what the best way to do it is. And then, there's no rush. So I think Trainer's the perfect guy for me right now. I think after him, somebody towards the bottom end of that top 10 would be great. I think I'm going to call somebody out after the fight, but I don't want to look past. I don't want to look past Trainer. You know what I mean? I'll give him that respect. So
They're kind of getting old as well. You know, those guys that are
yeah,
up there. You know, you're a youngster in the division, and you're right there next to him pretty much. It's an interesting position you're in right now.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I could be there quickly. It happens fast. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So next couple years, year, 2 years, I think I should be fighting those guys.
For sure, man. But anyways, man, before you get there, man, March 31st, Bellator 293. Go into the descriptions, download the AllStar app. Thank you, Sullivan, so much for the time. And yeah, I can't wait, man. Maybe you'll break that record. We'll see.
It's the record's going down eventually, and
Yeah,
I think
yeah, of course.
hopefully it'll be next Friday.